In June of 2006, I played what seemed to me to be an almost perfect show at a very nearly empty bar in Des Moines, Iowa. It was a hot day with the kind of flat, wet, oppressive heat that the Midwest gets in exchange for the wind chill factor. And I went to the Des Moines airport and I picked up my friend Eric Haywood, a pedal steel and electric guitar player of some note. And we had a few hours to kill, so we drove around town like you do when you're a musician on the road. First we went to the vintage clothing shop, and then we went to the vintage guitar store and we played some guitars that we couldn't afford. We had been on the road about a month prior to release a record in Europe, and we had traveled all over the continent, but for whatever reason, we had got some very nice traction, and were very mildly and very briefly famous in the Netherlands, of all places. It's worth pointing out that the Netherlands is a country of 17 million people that would fit in the state of Iowa a little over 3 times. There are 3.5 million people in the state of Iowa, and 6 of them came to our show in Des Moines that night. Bear with me. Like I said, we had some time to kill, so we killed it. And then we drove across town and we located the club. And we pulled into the municipal parking lot across the street. We took a deep breath and we got our courage up. And then we stepped out of the air-conditioned rental car and we carried our guitars across the parking lot in what I would describe as sort of a radiant, sweltering heat that softened the asphalt. You could probably see our footprints from the car to the club. When we got inside, they said, "You're late." And it turned out that the time that I had been told for the show and I had advertised was different from the time that the club had advertised, with the result that though we had just screwed around for about 2 hours, we now had exactly enough time to sound check very briefly, drink a few beers as fast as we could because we were not going to have our supper, and walk on stage and play this show for 6 people who had not actually arrived yet at the show. You might think that the hard thing about playing a show in a large room with very few people in it is that you feel demoralized by the turnout. But actually, it's the palpable unease of the people in the room who actually showed up at the show and the feeling that they are embarrassed for you. And because they're embarrassed, they're unlikely to have a good time. And we're all there to have a good time. Bob Dylan said that dignity has never been photographed. And I think that's probably true. But that doesn't mean that dignity doesn't exist. And the thing that happened next had something to do with dignity, and something to do with luck, and something to do with grace, for lack of a better word. You see, when you are a performer, you don't get to be yourself. You walk out on stage, and you become a compressed version of yourself. And if you tried to go out night after night and be completely undefended and wholly present, holding nothing back, in a very short time, you would be so burned out that you would have nothing left to offer. It's probably true that it would also be boring for everybody. What a performer does is distill experience into a character or a story. And when you walk out on stage, what you are is the conduit for a collective experience. You're there to be the conduit for the expectations of the people in the room around you, their hopes and their fears and their joy and their desires. And that sounds pompous, but the truth is, the better you do it, the less it has to do with you. So we kicked into the first song, and very short order, it was clear that something beautiful was happening. A few songs in, we wouldn't even look at each other because we didn't want it to go away. We were playing beautifully, effortlessly, in a way that sometimes happens, a sort of rare magic. And I don't want to get churchy, but what I would describe as a sort of ineffable elegance or grace came into that room, which is something that can't be earned. we finished our set, and the show was over. And we said hi to the people, and we sold a few records, and we packed up our gear, and we went out and we had a smoke in the alley by the club. And we went out and we threw our stuff into the rental car with the flashers on. It was parked out front. And then we drove a few hours east on I-80. And that was one night, and there was one show. Now let me tell you what I learned. It has to be enough to do what you do and do it well with some humility and an open heart. That's how you leave room for grace to find you wherever you go. And if it's not enough in an empty club in Des Moines, Iowa, it's not going to be enough anywhere, ever. Thanks.